Well, I'm 22 years old now and I'm a student here. I'm actually a psych major, but my story kind of starts when I was a summer going into my senior year, and I was a varsity wrestler. I was the captain of the wrestling team, and I was about to start my senior year, and I ended up in the hospital, or actually in the doctor's office 4 different times. And each time the doctor told me it was asthma and that I just had a breathing problem. And then, so I started my senior year of high school, started wrestling, started doing everything, living the normal senior life, going out, having a good time, just enjoying life. And then I turned 17, and 3 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night suffocating, and I ran to my parents' room, and they rushed me to an emergency room. And from there, I kind of get hazy, but I ended up getting transferred to Children's Hospital, and I was in the ER. And I had passed out because it was after 1 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up and looked over, and all I could see was my mom bawling her eyes out. And just the look on her face, I could tell she knew something that I didn't yet. And looking over at her and looking at my dad, just trying to stay strong for her, I realized something was really wrong. And my doctor ended up walking in the room, and she told me I had been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's T-cell lymphoma, which is a cancer. And for me, the last time I heard of cancer was my grandpa, and he ended up passing away from it. And as a teenager, you kind of don't really ever think about cancer, or anyone of your friends getting it, or any little kid getting it. It's kind of one of those things that, for me, I thought old people got it, and I thought it was something that just affected old people and you died from it. So going in, that was my first thought, that the doctor was telling me I was going to die. And so I went in and ended up getting my own hospital room, and it was the closest room to the nurse's station because they didn't want me to be too far from them. And my bed ended up having to be at a 45-degree angle because if I did lay flat, they were afraid the tumor would push against my breathing tubes, and I wasn't really able to sleep for more than 2 hours at a time. And from there, they ended up taking me in to get my surgery to get a portacath placed, which is a central line that goes straight to the main artery. And that's how they give you your chemo, and that's how they give any medication that you need. So I started chemo, got the normal treatments. Luckily, I didn't lose all my hair in the beginning, and kind of just sort of tried to live a normal life. Still went to high school as I could. Just tried to be strong and show my mom that I could beat it. And it went towards the week of Thanksgiving, and something started feeling wrong, and I couldn't eat anything anymore. Everything I ate, I ended up throwing up, and it's kind of one of the things you think about with chemo, but this week was kind of different. And even Thanksgiving Day, I couldn't even enjoy Thanksgiving dinner. So the next day, I had an appointment, which was a normal appointment, until I got out of the car and I just fell to the ground. And from there, they ended up taking me in. The nurses and doctors panicked. They freaked out and went everywhere. And I woke up, and the next thing I know, I'm in the intensive care unit. My blood pressure is at 30, and my temperature is at 105. I have a heating lamp above me. I have a heated blanket on me, and I have 3 blankets on top of that. And I'm still shivering, and I had the chills worse than I'd ever even imagined. The next day, I get transferred back, and I get 3 scans that day: an MRI, a CT scan, and a PET scan. And from those scans, they realized that something had infected my lungs. And as I went in, I didn't know what to think. I already had cancer, which is something that you'd probably think is the worst thing that could happen to me. Well, I found out later that I had a fungal infection called mucor that no one in the hospital had ever survived. And they started me on the regular treatments, and a couple weeks later they did another scan and the treatments weren't working. So my doctors and nurses, who I thank for my life, ended up calling nurses all around the country, everywhere, and they found a medication from San Diego that wasn't even on the market yet to any patients at all. And I ended up being the first patient to ever get this medication, and that medication ended up saving my life and got me past the mucor and got me to here. And I decided to be a psych major because I want to be able to influence people and talk to people, and what I want to do is start a nonprofit research fund for childhood cancer. And basically what you guys are doing with the dance marathon and everything is completely what I want to do on the same level. Any amount of money, any amount of time is going to save lives, and it takes so much money to take care of any of these patients. And I personally know because in the middle of treatment, I reached $1 million cap on my insurance. After 1 year of treatment, I was on treatment for 2.5 years. So that probably equals over $2 million total treatment through everything. And any amount of money counts, and these dance marathons and any fundraiser that you guys do ends up putting a lot of money towards any patient, and those are what save the patient's lives. So it'd be a really good thing. I really appreciate it.